Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you the first 7 farms you should build in your Minecraft world. Let's get right into the video. First up we have this classic sugarcane farm design. Now this is the classic design that just uses observers and pistons activated by redstone in the back here that knock over the sugarcane stalks that then get picked up by this hopper minecart down here and then placed into the chest. So I've kind of gone with a rustic or Nordic design for this, and I've added in some alternating glass pillars here so that you can see inside the farm and see all of the cool inner workings. Now between the glass, I've added these kind of pillars here that act to add more depth to the build and make it look a little bit more busy. I've also added some stairs up here to kind of ease into this arch design I have on the top, along with a whole bunch of trapdoors to make the build look fortified. For the sides, I've just gone with these pillars here with some stairs and trapdoors to hide all of the nasty redstone and all of that good stuff. And then for the entrance to the chest here, I just have some stairs going down to a room with a bunch of wood and trapdoors and stuff to make it look a little bit nicer than just the stone and dirt that it was. And I've added these trapdoors in so that it almost looks like they're holding back the dirt from falling in. But this is quite a good starter farm, and I feel like this build is relatively easy to do. So if you want to keep your world looking nice and have a nice farm, this is definitely the first farm you should build. Now the second build is this dripstone based lava farm. The thing I've done here is I have laid out kind of a pattern to place my cauldrons in, and then I elevated the ones in the middle and then lowered the ones on the outside and placed a bunch of dripstone blocks along with some dripstone spikes. That way it almost looks like a giant piece of dripstone itself. This particular design uses 8 cauldrons, so that should be perfect for any starter world, and they fill up relatively quickly, so you shouldn't really have to add more. My vision for this was that you could kind of put it in like a cave base or do what I've done here and build like a floating island sort of thing. You have to remember to have a lava source above all of the pieces of dripstone, otherwise they won't fill up the cauldrons, and I've kind of added in these bits of lava here held back by the pieces of dripstone, and I feel like they almost kind of look like the dripstone itself is melting, and I think it adds a lot to the build. So up at the top here, I've kind of built like the lava stream design that you would see in like a nether basalt delta biome, and I feel like it looks really nice for it being out here in the overworld. But if you wanted to have this in a cave, then you could just have the top cut off like that, and then you could just have it like a stalactite and stalagmite. But that does it for farm number 2. Now let's move on to number 3. So for number 3 here, we have a semi-automatic crop farm. This crop farm uses a lever attached to redstone that goes underneath the farm up here and then activates these trapdoors that then flip down and allow water to run down, collecting all of the crops along the way, placing them in the hoppers, and then putting them into the chest. So basically what I've done here is I've added in some railings, gradually increasing in height using all sorts of spruce wood types. These are very important, otherwise your crops are all going to spill out and all the water is going to fall out, and then it'll take longer than just farming on its own. For the middle one, I have increased the height a little bit. That way, less of the crops mix between the streams. If you wanted to have, for example, carrots here, potatoes here, or wheat here, or anything like that. But if you want the crops to grow quickly, you can grow them in rows like I have here, and it also makes it look a little cooler. But let's see this farm in action. So I flick the lever, and then all of the water activates and all the crops come falling down. Now obviously you are going to get some crops along the sides here, but that is kind of unavoidable unless you want to make the walls really high, but then it doesn't really look that good. But yeah, that does it for farm number 3. Now let's go on to number 4. Now farm number 4 is this fully automatic cactus farm. So what I've done here is I've built a 7x7 border around a small area and then placed sand 1 block away from each other and the wall. And then I've just placed some cacti on top, along with these fences here that allow for the cactus to break when they grow. I didn't really like how they were floating, so I added this kind of like arm design up here. That way it looks like they're actually connected to something and they aren't just floating there. I've also added in lots of alternating stairs and blocks, along with some cobbled deep slate here. That way it looks a little bit more old and almost abandoned. Next, over here, I have this hopper to collect all of the cactus that falls, that then goes into this chest. This is a pretty nice early game farm if you want to have green dye, or if you just want to smelt the cacti to get some XP in a furnace. But now, we are going to move on to farm number 5. So farm number 5 is a simple cow crusher. So what I've done here is I have just built up a cow crusher, but instead of just using planks or something boring, I've used a large variety of deep slate blocks along with some amethyst. But basically what this is a hopper underneath with a bit of water so that the cows can go up and down, along with a fence or wall above so that you can feed all of the cows like so. So as they go up and down, you feed them, and then as they breed, the bigger ones die, and then you can collect all of the stuff down here. This is probably my personal favorite farm to build early game, as it makes it really easy to get leather for an enchanting table. I've also added in these amethyst buds all over the place so that it looks like this is kind of an amethyst farm, and it almost looks like the amethyst is kind of taking over the deep slate. But that does it for farm number 5. Now we are going to move on to number 6. So farm number 6 is a fully automatic crop farm. So what I've done here is I've just built a farm encased in this aesthetic looking fence, and then I've built some of my signature lampposts using extinguished campfires on the top to light up the area so that no mobs spawn and kill the villagers inside of here. I also have a block of water underneath this composter so that these farm blocks can actually stay watered, and then a slab on top so that the villager doesn't try to climb up and then destroy the land around it. I've also added in extra lanterns on the corners just to be a little more cautious about the zombies and stuff, because I really do not want my villagers turning into zombies. So you might have noticed that he has not grabbed any of the crops, and that is just because I have the sun locked in a certain spot for lighting reasons, but when I had the daylight cycle going, he managed to collect up a bunch of carrots and potatoes. Now, he can't really get the wheat until his inventory fills with it, so I don't really recommend using wheat for this farm, but carrots and potatoes are really nice, and beetroot also does work. But the way that we get the crops from the villager is we just have another villager down here with a hopper minecart and a trapdoor so that he cannot move. And when the farmer tries to throw all of his crops to this villager to trade, they just end up in the minecart and then go into some hoppers that then go into the chest. That does it for farm number 6. Now let's move on to the last farm, number 7. So for the final farm, we have a pumpkin/melon farm. So this just uses the classic design for pumpkin and melon farms, with a observer facing into the stalk of the pumpkin or melon, along with some pistons that it activates when it watches the stem bend over to grow a pumpkin or melon. The way that I've done that is I've just added a line of blocks with some redstone on top. These must be full blocks, it does not work with slabs, and those just activate all of the pistons in a row. You could have just pumpkins, just melons, or a mix of both, but I have personally gone with only pumpkins just for this demonstration. But I really liked over there with the alternating glass, so I've kind of done the same thing here, along with generally the same pillars, except I kind of wanted the center to be a little more grand because it has the chest. So I've just added full pillars here and then a bunch of stairs on top to make it look a little bit bulkier, and then I've gone with kind of the same point on the top as I did over here. But for the sides, I have also gone with generally the same pillar design, and then for these parts where I couldn't really hide the redstone, I just kind of built these pillars with some trapdoors to kind of ease them into the curve on the top. I've also added in a bunch of bushes around this build, and I feel like it's kind of nice for this one because it makes it look a lot more green, and it kind of helps this monster of a farm fit more into the natural landscape. Now, you might have also noticed this path that I have connecting all of the farms I've demonstrated so far, and if you want to learn how to build a path similar to this, check out my 5 path designs video. I'll have it linked in the description, so if you want to connect your awesome looking farms with a path, then go check out that video. But that is going to do it for the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed the builds, and please remember to comment your favorite one or comment any ideas for future builds. But I'll see you all in the next video. Later!